Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video we're going to go over how to use overdrive pedals, what overdrive pedals are, and I'm going to give you some examples of using just a little bit of overdrive, using a lot of overdrive, and why this is such an essential guitar effect. I always say if I could have two effects, it would be reverb and overdrive. Before we get into the lesson, please go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. If you like this video, click that like button and leave us a comment. Let us know what effects that you are interested in, that you would like us to go a little more in depth on and make demo videos for. All right, let's get into the lesson. So what's so cool about overdrive? Well, let's talk about what it is. So the term overdrive comes from overdriving an amplifier. So back in the early days before guitar pedals, when it was just an electric guitar and an amp, the overdrive sound would happen naturally when you would crank that amp and the tubes inside these tube amps would get saturated. So they would just get full of the signal and they would start to distort a little bit. So there's a bit of this clipping is the technical term. Overdrive is a soft clipping kind of a sound in comparison to, say, distortion or fuzz, which is a hard clipping. So that clipping distorts the signal, but with a tube amp, it could sound creamy, luscious. The tone gets compressed, so that means your playing kind of thickens up because the lower frequencies and the higher frequencies kind of match together. That's what compress means. And with compression comes more sustain, so a note gets held out more when you play it. And with a natural tube amp, what could happen is if you get it right on what they call the edge of breakup. So breakup is when it starts to get overdriven. You can play soft and it's clean, and then you play a little harder and it's overdriven. So you get this like beautiful edge of breakup spot where people that use tube amps for their overdrive, that's, you know, where they try to dial it in. But you might have to turn your amp really loud depending on what kind of amp you have to do that. So we have pedals that could emulate that effect. So a really good overdrive pedal, my favorite right now is this Wampler Dual Fusion, when you play soft, it'll sound really clean. But then when you dig in, you get that overdrive sound. So you get more of this contrast. When you play harder, you get more of that saturated overdriven sound, which has a little more attitude. So along with the pick attitude comes a sound attitude. So here's an example. I'm just going to kind of play some riffs softly. Now if I want to dig in. But then soft again. But if I didn't have the overdrive on, you know, when I dig in, what it sounds like is like, sometimes it just sounds a little harsh, like you hear the pick. It's still like that thin, clean sound, and it doesn't thicken up with my attack, whereas with the overdrive, it's like the tone matches my attack a little more. It's even more apparent if I put it really soft, just a little subtle overdrive like this. So now I've just got it like a quarter of the way. So that sounds totally clean, right? But if I dig in a little, I get a little bit of that dirt. Here's the difference. And now with the overdrive. See, I get a little bit of that dirt. So no overdrive. With overdrive. So this pedal goes from super subtle to, you know, if I want to push that gain a lot, now I can get all the way, you know. See, that's sustain. So the more overdrive, the more sustain. without the overdrive. Right? You know, more subtle. The note doesn't just pop out and stay out. Now, you'll hear a lot of talk about transparent overdrive versus an overdrive that's going to color your sound. And what that means is that a transparent overdrive is going to take your clean sound and it's just going to add to it. So it doesn't sound like a totally new guitar with a totally new amp. It sounds like the same signal, just with a little something extra on it. So my favorite kind of transparent overdrive that I've been using on my pedal board is the Wampler Dual Fusion. The right channel, to me, channel 1, is a true overdrive, very mild, almost imperceptible, to a nice, you know, like medium gain that you could get. The Tube Screamer is one that, to me, colors the tone a lot more. It gives it like a mid boost. So it almost sounds like a different guitar to me sometimes with the Tube Screamer. It's cool for some applications, but I prefer a more transparent overdrive. So now here's the difference between overdrive and distortion. So overdrive is more of that soft clipping, more of a natural kind of a sound. Right? I'm just going to play D to A to G. Nice, right? Now I'm going to play it with distortion. So the distortion, you know, it's more fizzy. To me, it's tighter, which is why, you know, metal guys that do the whole, that sounds better with distortion. It's got a tighter sound to it, whereas the overdrive, it's looser. It's a little flubbier. It's more open sounding. Whereas the distortion. But what could be cool is mixing it all together. I can, you know, maybe have my overdrive going. Then it comes time for me to play a solo. See all that sustain? That comes from adding distortion with the overdrive. The more gain, the more distortion, the more compression, and the more sustain. So I kind of see overdrive and distortion as like a Venn diagram. One circle is clean tone. The other circle is complete distortion. I find that that intersection is overdrive. That's where like you still get that clean, you still hear the detail. There's some of that natural tone still prevails in that, you know, light overdrive sound. But once you get to distortion, to me, it's like a new instrument. It's like just this whole other tone. So I see like, you know, that Venn diagram, that middle ground, that's like your overdrive sound. And then you could push it to the complete other side, which is sustained for days, totally saturated. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of distortion because I feel like you lose some of the nuance and touch in your playing because everything just gets smushed into this searing tone, right? But you get that beautiful blooming sustain that could last for days as well, and just that power. So yeah, to me, that's the whole overdrive thing. Like I said, for me, if I could only have one, overdrive or distortion, definitely overdrive. Something that could go from mild to, you know, not too crazy. That's good for me. All right, everybody. So that's overdrive. That's how it could be valuable for you. There's so many pedals on the market. I did a review of the Tube Screamer, so we'll link that in the description. In this one, I'm using channel 1 of the Dual Fusion. There are so many out on the market. If you're just getting into pedals, you do not need to buy some $300 boutique pedal. I still use a Boss DS1 as my distortion, which is like a $40 pedal. I've A/B'd it against more expensive pedals. It works fine for me. It's tried and true. Boss makes the Super Overdrive pedal. That's a really popular one. Obviously, the Tube Screamer is really popular. So go to your local guitar store, try out some pedals, see what you like. But overdrive, absolutely essential. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you want to take a step-by-step method for learning guitar and access a library of official song lessons, with downloadable tab, backing tracks, all sorts of stuff, head over to guitartricks.com. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.